Hi, everyone. It's Nancy Leffler,
And Dan Leffler here with Being with Grief.
and today is our next installment of our webinar, Changing the Conversation Around Grief.
And we've been doing this now for
10 months. This is the 10th month.
10th month.
Yeah.
And we're excited to share some of our observations and things that we've learned along our personal grief journey, and feel that it's important to have these conversations to break the taboo around the subject of grief and why it is so difficult to have a conversation. So
Right.
today
we're going to be talking about holiday grief. And you may be wondering why we're talking about holiday grief. Here it is, October. If you're watching these in the membership portal, you can watch them whenever you want to, but it happens to be October when we're doing this conversation live. And let's share why we decided to do this in October instead of November or December.
Well, for me, it was dreading the holidays when I was, we lost Leah, our daughter, 21 years ago,
Almost 22.
Almost 22 years ago. And the holidays for me were one of the most difficult things that I had to face.
Right. So we wanted to have this conversation before we get into the holiday stuff. So it's already difficult if you're missing your loved one. And no matter where you are in your grief journey, the holidays are always going to be difficult because they're always going to be different than they were when your loved one was here. And so we wanted to talk about the holidays while we can still talk about them a little bit more objectively, maybe, because we're not underneath that heavy and overwhelming holiday stuff. Some of that stuff we'll be talking about. I think you alluded to one of them, the dread and anticipation.
Well, yeah, because prior to losing Leah, the anticipation of the holidays was always a positive thing.
Right.
I remember the way she would dance around, well, not only for Christmas, but Halloween, which was one of her favorites. And
Right.
That's another reason why a lot of people these days are really enthused about magic and mystique that goes around the holiday. And
Right.
um,
For us, some of that magic and mystique was lost after Leah died. Yes, our son was still here. However, all three of us were just didn't know what to do without Leah being there, because she would be, like Dan said, dancing around the house and just so excited about Christmas, and she helped us to be excited about it.
Sure. And again, that anticipation of the holidays being joyful and filled with spirit, and then to have that level of grief feel like it is a lid or a weight that is on your shoulders.
Right.
How do you manage that, and how do you
don't know how to manage it? And everybody in your family, whether it's the family of origin or extended family, everybody is having a little different experience of the memories of the holidays, because we all have different experiences anyway, and we may not talk about that. So we're giving you permission to talk about it now and make a plan for the upcoming months. Whether we are going to talk specifically about the end of the year holidays, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, or whatever else you celebrate.
And Kwanzaa or Festivus.
And
name them all.
We will, or Halloween. No, right. Halloween was
Thanksgiving,
very much a trigger for us because Leah loved Halloween. And we'll talk a little bit more detail about this later. Everything we talk about today, it has references for all holidays or milestone days. different holidays may be important to you for different reasons. So keep that in mind as you're listening to some of our suggestions.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Other milestone dates.
Milestone days too.
The 4th of July holiday for us was always a time when we were on vacation and there was a lot of family-oriented things going on, and you may not feel like celebrating in quite the same way now that your loved one's not here.
Right.
And like Nancy said, it is okay to give yourself permission to disconnect from the way that things were. But I think right now, what would be a good thing to do is to talk about things associated with those memories and maybe the triggers that can come up.
Yeah, associative memories were really something that hit me hard. Now, what's an associative memory? It's something that brings the association. It's a memory that brings the association of your loved one front and center. An example of an associative memory may be the smell of Christmas cookies baking, and you remember that you always used to do that with your grandmother. And it for me, when those memories came in, it seemed like they came out of the blue, and I didn't know why. In the middle of August, all of a sudden I was, well, this is one that the weather is an associative memory that hit me with Leah. Leah's accident was in November. However, one year the weather started getting cooler in August, and I started having all of the memories and feelings come up that usually came up around the as we approached the date of her accident in August. And I thought, what is happening? I can't do this from August until November. What's going on? And then when I sat with it, I realized that it was the weather it was a similar quality to the weather that was taking me back to that day. And so just by recognizing that, I was able to move through it with more ease.
And I think a good term for that is emotional anxiety that comes up. And, you know, that anxiety, you mentioned the smells of baking cookies, you know, which is, again, for me, a very positive, connection.
Right. You like cookies.
But, well, that's true. But the one that struck me was the Christmas carols being played on the radio. And, it seems like every year they're playing Christmas carols earlier and earlier, and, living with those songs going through your head and bringing on the feelings of, oh, but, they're not here,
right,
can really extend that and amplify the feelings of grief.
Right.
And so what can we do to disassociate?
So one of the things you might do is make a list of associative memories that you know about, and then add to the list when they come and surprise you, so that you are aware of them when they happen. They could be sights or sounds or smells, anything that you associate with your loved one that comes up and takes you right back into those feelings of grief.
Exactly. And I remember when our loss, first occurred, I continually flip-flopped in my emotions. I wanted to be happy, but Leah's not here to share.
Right.
And
then when you do find yourself feeling happy, even if it's for a half a minute, you feel guilty. I felt guilty because how could I feel happy? How could I be excited about seeing someone at the holidays when Leah wasn't here to experience it as well? So all of that is normal.
Yeah, and another trigger. And
right.
as Nancy said, the sights, smells, tastes, and
Right.
just visiting family. That first Christmas after Leah died, like Nancy said, she died in early November. We had to get through Thanksgiving, which we did break with tradition there. We
Yeah.
didn't have family, but that first Christmas, my sister and my mom showed up to help us put up a Christmas tree.
Right. And then we invited some of Leah's friends over to help us with the Christmas tree as well. So
And that was
we were still in shock. So that was a way for us to get through that first Christmas.
but probably the least
We didn't feel any of it.
yeah.
Right.
And it really wasn't, well, we can go into that later. So we put up a Christmas tree, and it brought on a lot of emotions. Hanging the baby ornaments for her on the tree was not an easy thing to do. And later, we decided that was one of the traditions
that was one of the traditions that
went out the window.
But the second year we tried to do Christmas like we always did. Our son came home from school. We waited for him to get home to decorate the tree, and we all kind of sat around thinking, we don't feel like decorating a tree. Leah's not here. But we did, because that's what we thought we were supposed to do.
Mhm.
We thought we were supposed to carry on the way that we always did. And Peter was in college. He was home for a week. He stayed in his room the whole week. He didn't go out. At the end of that week, we realized that was too hard for us. And that's when we looked at that holiday tradition, the tradition of putting up a tree together, of having Christmas in our home, and we changed things up. So we want to give you permission to look at your holiday traditions and change them up if they are too hard. The third year we began traveling. The first year we went to Chicago, which is where most of our family was. We got a hotel suite downtown and invited everyone to come and see us. We didn't want to go traveling around to other people, because that was going to be too stressful for us.
Stressful land was something that we
used
did
to do,
in the early days.
Exactly.
And we wanted to break with that tradition.
We wanted to break with that tradition. And it doesn't mean that we missed Leah any less. However, not being in the same physical space that we always were, whether it was before we got married and were visiting friends and family, or whether we were in our own home and creating our own traditions, we were in a completely different environment, and it wasn't easy. However, it was more easeful, because stress, the holidays are stressful without grief. When you add grief to it, the stress brings grief right to the surface. And so you may find yourself doing things that you thought you worked through. You may find yourself crying more, or you may find yourself zoning out, or using any of the what Dan refers to in the grief recovery method as stirs, which are
the stress
the activities that sometimes are helpful and sometimes numb the stress. I guess that's a good way to
right
describe
them. And they're useful up to a point. And
right.
I wish I could remember what that stands for, but it's a stress reducing behavior,
right.
Essentially. And the other thing that I wanted to mention was that as Nancy said, the holidays are stressful enough. You combine that with some of the traditions that you may not feel like doing.
Right.
putting up a Christmas tree, and the example that we still have not adjusted to was the Christmas village.
Right.
We had a Christmas village that every year Leah would take great pride in setting up.
It was her domain, and she would move it around just about every day and spend time like
adjusting the
people and
and
making them go helping them go shopping or to whatever was in the
ice skating
village.
on the pond, and
Right, singing Christmas carols and all of that. And we never did go back to putting that up. We actually gave it to our son a couple of years ago in the hopes that his family can create their own tradition with that. So the third year, because we traveled, we didn't put up a Christmas tree that year. And that tradition of putting up a Christmas tree, not putting up a Christmas tree, rather, went by the wayside for many, many, many years for a lot of different reasons, mostly because we weren't ready to delve back into those boxes and all of those memories. So it's okay to not put up a Christmas tree. We did have a few Christmas decorations that we eventually put up. We did not listen to music. We didn't listen to Christmas carols for a really, really long time. And that was intentional. It was just too hard because we had certain songs that we had a song that we would always decorate our Christmas tree with. And we actually listened to that for the first time about 2 years ago. And we smiled this time.
Yeah, that bittersweet thing.
Smile.
And I guess that's one of the other things that we want to mention here is that things are going to change over the course of years that that we found it. The difficulty that we had facing Christmas in this example, Thanksgiving in another aspect of shared family memories.
Yeah, and one of the things we did there, our son was in college when Leah died, and the first year we were it was like less than a couple weeks after Leah died, so we were thankful that some neighbors invited us to their house. The second year and every year after that until we moved from that house, we invited friends of Peter's to come home with him, and sometimes had up to, I don't know, 8 of his friends
or more
coming for Thanksgiving and sharing the weekend with us. And that became something that we all looked forward to, and we still talk about it. So those shared memories that you create when you begin to change your traditions can enhance your life for years to come. And those shared memories become a part of your new traditions.
And not only the fact that you're changing the way that you celebrate, you begin to make new memories, and then those become the reason to celebrate and the reason to find joy again. As we travel this path, because it is not an easy thing to reconcile, but the prospect of being able to find joy again after a devastating loss becomes its own journey.
Now, for us, we didn't put up a tree. We basically had Christmases on our own for quite a few years because our son was in Minnesota, and every time he tried to come and visit us at Christmas time, there would be a snowstorm, and it just didn't make sense.
And the mess of traveling at the holidays and congestion, and
so we would see each other at different times of the year. Well, now that we live near him and we have his family to celebrate Christmas with, that's our new tradition, having Christmas with family, which just really warms our heart in a way that we probably can't fully describe, because it's not something that we anticipated or planned for. It's was allowed to open up because of the way that we met our grief.
And the re-examining how you approach each holiday and what you find important can change.
Right.
Giving yourself permission, as Nancy, as we began this, allows that spontaneity and creativity to enter into that traditional sense.
Right.
So,
So every year, ask yourself, what will serve you this year?
Yeah.
What do you need to keep? How can you create new memories to honor your loved one? Each year it might be different, and that's okay.
And remembering that there is no right way to grieve.
Right. Right.
That the way that we do holidays
Or milestones.
it can change, and
Right.
in creating those new traditions, you can find the joy and creativity and
meaning
again into something that once held meaning, and now that has blossomed into something that you have created, and that is our message.
Right. And I just want to touch a little bit more on some of the other holidays and milestone days. What do we mean by milestone days? Well, the one that nobody likes to talk about is the anniversary of their death. That can be really difficult, and the anticipation of that day is sometimes even more difficult than the actual day. Well, 2 years ago, we had a birthday party for Leah on that day because that's what she came to me and told me that she wanted. So it was 2020, so it was a perfect time to have a Zoom meeting because everybody knew what Zoom was at that point because
Learned
of COVID.
it quickly. Yeah.
So we had a Zoom meeting to connect with our friends and our family, and I invited them to bring in their own memories of their loved ones, and we had what we called a celebration of life for Leah and anyone else who made their way to that space. So milestone days it can be anniversaries of their death. It can be their birthday, which is not easy. Our birthday, I didn't even realize that my first birthday after Leah died was going to be so hard. And I think you had the same experience with yours. It just, that's not something there are so many things and that's really another topic, secondary losses. We'll go more into that at a future date. Things that you don't expect that come up as you travel this path. So milestone days, Mother's Day, Father's Day, another milestone day that we anticipated was going to, but it's bittersweet because I'm a mother to a child who's here. And I'm also a mother to Leah, who is not here. So it's a bittersweet day. Still is. Other milestone days. School starting.
Yeah.
The beginning of the year. Leah's accident was right after school started. Graduations, weddings. It took a long time for us to, well, not a long time for us to go to weddings because we felt that it was important for us to celebrate the beginning of a new couple's journey. However, I can't remember. It took us forever to stay for the father-daughter dance because that was just too hard. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to take care of yourself that way.
Yeah, that's a great point. Taking care of yourself. I know that the first wedding that we attended and the father walked his daughter down the aisle was just too difficult for me. I could not.
And the first weddings that we attended after Leah died were friends of Leah's or Peter's. So they were even more connected, emotionally charged. So give yourself permission to do what is necessary to take care of yourself in those difficult moments.
Yes.
Other milestone days or holidays, like Dan mentioned, 4th of July. Maybe you have a family reunion on the on Labor Day. So maybe or the 2 weeks after Labor Day. Whatever it is for you, it may not be something that is widely celebrated,
But special to you.
but special to you. So keep all of those holidays and milestones that are important to you. Maybe make a list of them for yourself. You know, make a list of times that you can anticipate these difficult emotions coming up, so that you can plan to do something else, so that you can create new traditions that are meaningful to you and that honor your loved one, honor your loved ones.
Mm-hmm. With that, I think that's enough for this episode.
Right.
But coming up, what do we have?
In November, we'll be talking with a very good friend, Heather Hill, who is a funeral director back in Raleigh, where we used to live. She'll be talking about death is also something that we don't like to talk about. So she'll be talking about what she sees in her job, green burial,
how she helps her clients
right.
through the emotional time when there is so many decisions to be made, and the advantage of pre-planning,
Right.
and understanding that as difficult as it is to have that conversation,
like we talked about last month,
that planning ahead of time reduces the amount of overwhelm that you feel when you're confronted with an unanticipated tragic event. So it is a very meaningful topic. Heather is wonderful. She's funny. She will bring insights that we have yet to explore here in our series.
right.
But we think it's going to be a valuable contribution. So
yeah, and she has a very interesting story, which we'll save for next month. And then in December, we're going to be talking about presence, which is feels like a good way to end the year as we are approaching those difficult holidays, and give you a few more resources to help you to get through them.
Meet the new year.
Meet the new year. Yeah. And then next year we'll have
a new slate,
new things to talk about. And as always, if there's something that you would like to hear about, a topic that you would like to have a conversation about, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you, and we will be in the Facebook group asking questions, and we hope that you will ask your questions too.
Thanks a lot.
See you later.